by the rivers of Babylon. Yeah, we sat down and we cried when we remembered Jerusalem. We were sick, Lord, near to dying. Oh,
Shalom, shalom, family. Welcome to another Tanakh review. My name is Zurishaddai, one of the teachers of Congregation D.C.B, BINAH, located in the Red Hook section of Brooklyn, New York. I'm giving honor, glory, and praise to the Most High King of the universe, Yehudah, the one who allowed us all to be here. Wishing an early Shabbat Shalom to everyone out there, praying that the Creator of heaven and earth has granted you the desires of your mind, that you've gotten to the end of this week in a healthy manner, and that the Most High God will continue to bless and keep each and every one of you, continue to keep your thoughts on righteousness, and that you will continue to walk in a desirable way before the Creator of heaven and earth. So thanking everyone for joining us once again. We don't take for granted your cooperation and your participation, and allowing us to bring this word to you. So without any further ado, we're going to move straight ahead, and I'm going to pass it on to one of my teachers and one of my mentors, even Nasik, Zurishaddai ben Yehudah, who will be going through last week's Sidra, which is Mishpatim, highlighting certain points, and also going through Proverbs chapter 18. How are you, Nasik?
Great, Baruch Hashem. First of all, I'd like to give praise to the Supreme Intelligence of the universe, God of my forefathers, God of Abraham, God of Isaac, God of Jacob, and the respective platform I'm on, D.C.B channel platform, spiritually Chief Prince Ariel Ben Saska, to the host Chief Uzael, to Princes, Chiefs, Rabbinate, Kohanim, Maureen, brothers and sisters, I greet you and visitors early Shabbat Shalom and Shalom Aleichem. And I'd like to first start off saying, Adonai Septai Ditakovi Agiti Ateaka, O Lord, on my lips, my mouth should declare thy praise. At this time, as you see, I'm in a different, I'm up north in the Big Apple for a minute. So surroundings be a little different, and hopefully I'll be able to address you in a manner that's healthy for the people that's listening. Where not only just inspire but motivate you as well. And I looked over the comments. I haven't seen any questions in the comments, so I assume most people didn't get a chance to really look at it that well, or see the whole thing. It was pretty lengthy last time. But in any event, I appreciate all those that took the time out to look it over, and hopefully some of the words was that I shared would have been a compliment to whatever you already know. And those that may not have been, like I said, any mistakes been my own. But basically my motivating factor is not to change people's viewpoints on what they normally believe in, but give you another point to view. And that's what I find most appropriate and most important, is because you have to decide on your own whether this is for you or this is not for you, whether it's truthful or not truthful. When you could gauge your life and said this is going to be the gauge for your life or not. Because a lot of us have from various religious ideologies, read the Holy Scriptures, which commonly people refer to as the Bible, but Bible means basically two books. We adhere to the first of 5 laws, that's which is given to the prophet Moses' first 5 books, which we most people call the Torah, but we say Chumash and some people use the word Pentateuch. That's what we ascribe our life to, and certain traditions, and I don't say across the board, but I say certain traditions. All right, so last week we finished off with the Sidra Yithro, and now this week we're getting ready to go into one of the longest Sidros. I mean, in this particular portion, well, not long in far as length, but has this particular portion, Mishpatim, which means judgments in the plural, Mishpatim, judgments or sentences, ordinances. This has more laws in this particular portion than any other portion in the first 5 books. It's like they counted up to be 53 laws that's enumerated in this particular portion. And those that might go to different congregations would know that every congregation you might go to, no one will ever, in their time or their regular service, will have the time to elaborate on all 53 of these particular laws that's enumerated here. Just to read through it, the whole Sidra, Mishpatim, is not that not that taxing, but to be able to elaborate on those particular 53 laws, statutes, and judgments that's in there. Now that is a phenomenal feat. So I left off when you throw last week, and I said that we finished talking about the revelation in part. I highlighted some points in the revelation of Mount Sinai, and that some of the miracles there, there's so many miracles that you could constantly talk about. If animals and nothing should be touched at the foot of the mountain. When God came down at that time, one of the great things about it is that, one, no one was deaf. No one had to have God explain something as simple as what he meant when each word they enumerate those 10 matters, 10 statements. No one had to explain it to the next individual. Each individual understood clearly, without a shadow of doubt, what the Creator meant. Hence, that's why I always say the human soul has an innate ability to perceive truth without really, say, what we consider secular knowledge. We have that inability to perceive a truth, and the truth is coming from the Creator. So that would permeate us. So at that time, no one was miscarrying. No one could not have been in a state of uncleanliness. But it's easy to say the men are not in a state of uncleanliness. But to say that not even the women in a state of uncleanness at that time. And why would I say that? It's because they had to be present at the most holiest convocation they're going to ever have and experience in their life. So that's some of the phenomenal things. So the more stuff you say that will keep you from being ritually clean, to go to your own particular, if the temple was standing, to the temple itself. Imagine that some people say, I can't make it this week for this element or that element, this issue or that issue. Everyone, including the mixed multitude, was able to make that particular meeting. Now, before I proceed and just highlight some things in this particular Sidra, I'd like to also bring out that, I was just having visit, a rabbinic installation for a young man Rabbi, Eliyahu Ben Levi in Jersey, and a very, very, very astute young man, and it's a credit to our community in that sense, and knowing, they were speaking also, and they called it a Unity Shabbat. Now, D.C.B have Unity Shabbats. High Shabbat and Charlotte have Unity Shabbats. And various other sections of the nation of Israel have they call Unity Shabbats. When I say Unity Shabbats, and it's every Shabbat should have, say, a thing of unity. But they have the special women. They invite people from all over, and just to be able to meet and participate and support one another. So that's they have various ones throughout the years and throughout the various communities. And some people might in the Jewish community, they might say they got open house this week, and they might have to do the weekdays when they have different scholars coming down and visit to speak on Shabbat. So it is somewhat similar. But what I want to speak on in reference to unity. Now we got three dynamics, and if I go into Mishpatim, you have three dynamics of unity that we could say, and that everybody was united. There's three dynamics, everyone. And the first one you read about the strong unity is at the Tower of Babel. I gave a talk a while back, but I'm not going to elaborate that much about the different forms of congregation, which is, Qahal, Adat, and Zabur. But anyway, so you might want to examine those different words. All of this is a gathering, but they have a different level involved with it. So the first one is at the Tower of Babel. Everybody was united. And they had a tower. They built it up, and they said, we're going to make a name for ourselves. That's serious united. An aim, a purpose. All right. Also, when we got ready to leave, we met at Ramses. That's the meeting location. United. Aim. Purpose. And then last week, Citra, we meet at Mount Sinai. Aim and purpose. So all those unity. But now let's look and examine the levels of unity and those three things that I just enumerated. First, when you think about the unity at the Tower of Babel, when they was building a tower to reach God, their aim was to get to God. The aim was to confront the Creator. But in a negative, anti-situation, as an opposing opposition, that the Creator himself didn't send anyone. He himself descended and then confounded the language, and the people were scattered abroad. So that's the power of unity, because we always talk about the 133rd Psalm. Behold, how pleasant it is for brethren to dwell together in unity. Now, what we recognize there, as a contrast of what we're going to, when you look at the last one I spoke on, which is Mount Sinai, is going to be something very striking. All right, but the purpose to do it was something that got God's attention, and he came down. All right, and he's confounded the language and scattered them abroad. When we come down to Ramses, we all say we're gonna meet at this place for the purpose of preparing to go up to meet God. All right. Okay, we're going to leave here and go and worship to meet God at a particular locale. So they was 100% united. And I know sometimes when they're reading the book, when it's like in Judges, all Israel knit themselves as one man. That's battle. That means that you got men, not necessarily women's involved with that. The scrimmages, because someone's going to lose a loved one or a brother, or a son. When we get to Mount Torah, at Mount Sinai, I should say, in that area that was given to the Lord. When we get to Mount Sinai, then they met at a mount for that one purpose, but God descended. And their job there was to be united, and understand and relate themselves with the Creator and come into a covenant. So the first one I mentioned is not to be in a covenant, but be in opposition. The second one is to be, in a sense, I'm just going to worship and sacrifice there, but not necessarily I'm about the covenant. When we met at Ramsey, I'm leaving from this situation to another situation. So our meeting here, being united, is just say, this is where we're supposed to meet at. So we agree we're going to meet here with all our brethren united, and we're going to step out. But the real mission, the major meeting place, and the real strong unity is at Mount Sinai. Now the difference is that when Mount Sinai, when God spoke, it was the people to know that, God had did this for them, and also to magnify Moses, and that the people know that Moses was sent by the Creator. One of the things I like to point out in that area is that Moses himself, though being proven, that his credentials being proven at that time, that when we go back into the Tower of Babel, their unity was so strong, though God scattered them, confounded their language, and though they had a negative purpose, that he left the tower untouched, and he left the humans untouched. Now, at the highest level, when we want to become in fellowship with the Creator, we told Moses, speak thou with us, and we will hear. But let not God speak with us, lest we die. Now, why would we say something like that when we wanted to become in covenant? We agreed to become in covenant. And in this particular sidra, you're going to find in Exodus 24th chapter, the seventh verse, that's the only time you find the term Na'aseh wa nishma. We will do and we will hear. That's the only time you're going to see that. And yet they figured they're going to die coming into this covenant where the people that was planning on doing wrong in their unity, God didn't destroy them there. So what I'm saying is that shows you the great power of unity in different areas. Sometimes you could be united, but you could be united for a wrong purpose. You could be united, but not no real defining purpose. But at the highest level of they're united for the purpose of saying we want to be one with somebody outside ourselves that's higher than ourselves. Even then they say, well, we don't want to hear God. We want to hear you unless we die. We don't feel qualified to be in this agreement. So this is, and yet they say they'll do what the agreement says, unread. So one of the things that, unity, you can't, I'm saying that to say that you can't have unity at any cost. It got to be a laudable purpose to really examine unity and have a unity. See, because you could have a united wicked band over here and a united righteous band over here, and a united neutral band over here. So those are some of the things I would bring out. And then we left off in the last portion talking about in reference to the altar. And it said, if you build me an altar of stone. So talk about worship. And it seems strange because now we don't have a Mishkan yet. But since we don't have a Mishkan yet, it talks extensively in 20th chapter. And it goes down to, 22nd verse, the 20th chapter, 22nd verse. It says, and if thou make me an altar of stone, thou shalt not build it of hewn stones. For if thou lift up thy tool upon it, thou hast profaned it. Neither shalt thou go up by steps unto my altar, that thy nakedness be not uncovered thereon. What's all that about? Can you dress properly to walk up a step where nothing is exposed? So that should me say, well, what do they mean that your nakedness? Because you got certain things on, and you're covered. You can cover your skin completely. But yet, so the steps shouldn't be able to expose nakedness, the physical nakedness. So what are we talking about at that time? And how is it, if it was an incline, then what would be the difference between that and just a regular step? Well, those are some things that, to take away and talk about. And talk about regular stones. Build me an altar of stone, it should not be a hewn stone. But yet the altar we find about later on as we get into the portion of it, torah, it describes, an altar with dimensions. Here, it has no particular dimensions for the altar. And then when this is an odd place to talk about an altar, when we don't have a lot of the secular laws yet of sacrifice, secular law and ritualistic laws at this point in time. So now I'm going to Mishpatim. There's just something to consider as we go forward. And it opens up like that, like this in 21st chapter. And it goes from the 24th chapter all the way to the 21st chapter, excuse me. 21st chapter, it starts, the first verse, Mishpatim. And it goes all the way over to the end of the 24th chapter. All right, so now it says, now these are the ordinances which thou shalt set before them. All right, that means everybody must know it. Today, only a few people know law, but everybody must know this. And then it goes on to say, if thou buy a Hebrew servant, 6 years he shall serve, and in the 7th he shall go out free for nothing. All right, now, one, we just talking about slavery. We're trying to come out of slavery, and no one really wants to be owned by another individual. And why would you start off with this class? You could start off with any other kind of law. We're on the highest level of our, of our spiritual ascent, and yet we didn't want to stay on that same spiritual ascent. And it talk about one of the lowest level that a human being could be, especially in ancient times, in a sense, is that to be a servant of another human being, to have a human master than one that created the human himself. The man that has the same creator as you have. So it addresses the lowest of the of society. And one of the things about Mishpatim is that in order to really serve God, you just can't have a spirituality. You have people that would gladly do whatever they can for God, but for another human being, they have little to no regard. And so that's one of the things that the Creator safeguard. And it starts with something that we can identify with. And it says a Hebrew servant. Now, why would a Hebrew sell himself? And it's talking to a people that left Egypt with plenty of wealth. They had, raiment, gold, silver. And they had to have animals, somebody to carry it and wagon loads of stuff. So they left with wealth, and they had flocks. So who could imagine themselves being a servant to somebody else when I got is pretty much as the next guy got? I got more than I need. If I ain't got as much as the next guy got, I got more than I need for myself. So this is one thing we got to constantly consider. And also, when we look at it says 6 years. Why would how would you buy one a Hebrew servant? 2 ways to buy a Hebrew servant, a fellow Israelite. One, as we read through the book, he get caught stealing, and he can't afford to pay double. He stole something maybe worth $1,000, and now he got to pay $2,000. Most reasonable assessment is that he can't afford to pay the $2,000. That's why he stole something that was worth $1,000. So therefore, he got to work off his debt. See, one of the things about making amends is that usually in this society here, because we really in ancient Israel, in the Israel institution, I ain't talking about other cultures, but in Israel institution, if you caught a thief that stole from you, not only you had took a loss if you can't afford to pay back, but the thing is that we didn't have prisons. You didn't go to jail in Israel for being a thief. That just didn't exist, under our law. If you're a thief, jail wasn't an option. You're going to be a servant of somebody if you consider that somewhat of a jail. But we didn't send thieves to jail, because if you send them to jail, somebody got to take care of them. So they live in free, and that will not actually serve the purpose living free like that. Then we go another one. A person might sell himself because I'm not good in farming. I'm not good in shepherding. So-and-so is better than me. So I'm going to work for him for X amount of time. All right. So this is the thing, that's necessary. You say, look, I don't want to think about the business operating, how I'm going to make this work and everything like that. I'm just going to work for him for a time. 6 years. All right. I eat. I ain't got to worry about, damages, 10 of this, 10 of that. And plus, I might not be educated enough to do what I need to do. So I'm going to hire myself out, to somebody. Those are other ways by this is what we call seeking employment. All right. That's 2 ways. All right. So it goes on to say 6 years he should serve, and 7 years you go out free for nothing. That means right then and there that you don't say, I took care of you. Now you owe me for maintaining you. And one of the things about a person that sells himself as a servant, and as a matter of fact, I just finished it out. I'm not sure I finished it out. And it says, if he be married, then his wife should go out with him. If his master give him a wife, and she bear him sons or daughters, the wife and her children shall be her master's, and he shall go out by himself. But if the servant shall plainly say, I love my master, my wife, and my children, I will not go out free, then his master shall bring him unto God. I usually said the door of the judges, but of the city, but it's still in a sense like where we're going to invoke God's attention, and shall bring him unto the door and shall bring him to the door or unto the doorpost, and his master shall bore his ear through with an oar, and he shall serve him forever. Now, forever, as we're going to find the laws later on, it means to the Jubilee. That's when you serve as the master, the Yovel, which I left words about that particular thing about the Yovel last time. So I'm not going to speak on that much. Hebrew servant, you cannot pass him down as family heir property. That can be addressed later on in the book of Leviticus. But when it comes down to a foreigner, then he can become heir property in that sense. But the master himself, he can't have nobody else do it. He do it and bore a hold to his ear. So that's what the master's job is at the doorpost, and usually the doorpost of the master's house. Because that's so. One of the things is there's always a lot of discussions on that, but I spoke on it in the past, so we're gonna move on. And if a man sell his daughter to be a maidservant, he should go out. She should not go out as the menservant do. If she please not a master who has espoused her to himself, then shall he let her be redeemed. To sell her unto a foreign people, he shall have no power, seeing he have dealt deceitfully with her. All right. And if he espouse her unto his son, he shall deal with her after the manner of daughters. And if he take him another wife, him or the son, if they marry, whoever marry her food, her raiment, and her conjugal rights shall he not diminish. And if he do not these three unto her, then shall she go out for nothing without money. All right. He done brought her physically. And it's the purpose of buying her is either for a wife for himself or a wife for his son. All right. And she has requirements. So that means that when you purchase a servant, a servant period, you become a servant to the servant because now you have a responsibility. And your responsibility is not dictated by you, like in other cultures. It's dictated by the laws of God. And that's the difference. So a servant had rights. Now, in society today, they created unions to say, well, workers should have certain rights, certain conditions, certain pay grades, certain treatment. That's why unions are formed. But we know in ancient times, in most cultures, a servant, if you was a slave, you had nothing of yours that you could demand. It was strictly the will of the master. Said, your will, my hands. That's basically what it was at that time. All right, and amongst other cultures. All right, so that's dealing with the female, and because when the father sells his daughter, he's going to say, look, this is a good family, or I need you to clear up some debt, and I see so and so looking at you for a while. So it's not a thing where you just want to get rid of her in that sense. But today they might think of it, as a father selling his daughter. Mostly fathers are real close to their daughters. They usually will sell their son quicker than sell their daughters. And but that means right then and there, he's seen a better opportunity for both of them in that area. All right, so she had to have a unique treatment. She had to have a particular treatment. So as we go further, I'm just going to go to skip a few things. We got a law of murder, and I'm going to skip down to 14th verse. And if a man come presumptuously upon his neighbor to slay him with guile, thou shalt take him from my altar that he may die. Now you say from my altar, what do that mean there? If you're going to go and slay somebody, then he going to, we got this, the stereotypes about, well, basically we see a lot, like say the mafia used to do hits and stuff like that, guys who hits, they go to the church, sitting there in a little cubicle and said, Father, I sinned. I did thus and thus and thus. He said, go, my son, and sin no more. that's in the cubicle. In our law, if you did that, that means you put to death, but more so, if you even a priest, that's what it says from my author, even if he's a priest himself, or the high priest himself, he up there working the offering, you kill somebody, you take him from there, and then you slay him because he had murdered. So that was a law that's a law there that God has a disdain against murder. All right. And then the last one, I want to go into this part here. He that smites his father or his mother, thou shalt surely be put to death. Usually guys will hit them, people will hit their father before they hit their moms first. So I guess that's one of the orders that's put there. All right. So, and then I'm going to skip down to the 17th verse. And he that curses his father or his mother shall surely be put to death. Cursing is not just vulgarity, as we say. Even though you should watch the way you talk to your parents, it's not just a vulgarity. You know, if you invoke, the Creator's, name and wish some harm for him, and even if you didn't invoke the Creator name and wish some serious harm to him, you know what I mean? You might say, man, I wish you would drop dead. Now, you might not invoke the Creator name, but that's your wish. That's your aim. That if you had that power, you want them to put death. Those things, it's not like, I don't want to do that. I refuse to do that. But I wish you were dead or something like that. And then those that actually get physical, it's clear. But the cursing itself is not, say, you have just certain language areas, problems in the sense of how you say. A lot of people have a lot of terms today that's vulgar, but it may not, it's not necessarily a curse. So those things, and then just for your words, that means you got to watch how you address your parents. That's a must. You must watch how you address your parents, because it's a saying that there's no word so secret that it go for naught. All right. So now, as we go further into the discussion, let's look at this element here. I want to go to this last little law here, and the same chapter, 21st, 22. And men strive together and hurt a woman with child, so that fruit depart, yet no harm follow. He shall surely be fined, according to the woman's husband shall lay upon. Surely, according to as the woman's husband shall lay upon him, and he shall pay as the judges determine. But if any harm follow, then thou shalt give her life for life, shall give life for life, eye for eye, tooth for tooth, hand for hand, foot for foot, burning for burning, wound for wound, stripe for stripe. A lot of people use this as lex talionis, law of the claw. Eye for eye means exactly that. Life for life, exactly that. But now when it's talking about a men striving together, fighting, physical. So you got to watch when you fight. And one of the things about fighting, when men fight, their actual intention is to disable the next individual. All right. So now that brings another issue in, but I'm going to just focus on this issue here, because we have Roe versus Wade that's been overturned, and a lot of states is fighting about the Roe versus Wade. And one of the things I like to bring out is that, which I brought out in the past, that they never, it says here that they discuss it with the woman, how she feel, what's going on. And men fighting, that means that they ain't paying attention to their surroundings. That's number one. They shouldn't be fighting in the first place, but they're not paying attention that anybody else could get caught up in the mayhem. All right. And they fighting each other. They're not fighting her. But perhaps she might have jumped in. Could be her husband fighting. Could be her brother fighting. But they, or it's just a woman that say, y'all guys shouldn't be fighting. I'm not related to either one of you. Neither one of you is my husband. Neither one of you is my immediate family. I just know in the eyes of God, it's not correct. So she might stop in to try to stop him, and in the heat of anger, they collide. Now, which one hurt her? Which it could be both, or it could be one. There's a lot of scenarios in it. It don't necessarily have to be just one guy hurt the woman. They both is responsible for causing the woman to get hurt. In this case. And then it says, as the husband, and use the word Baal as opposed to a regular Ish. All right. And in the sense of Baal is like Lord, Master, or and husband in that sense. But whoever's in charge, because it's taken automatically according to the culture that a woman that's pregnant in Israel, in our society, she's married. There ain't gonna be a woman that's pregnant that's not married. All right. And if she's not married, she's a widow. All right. And I could throw a third scenario in it, but I don't want to focus on it right now. If she had got raped, then also, we know the guy that did the death penalty, she got raped and she's pregnant. All right. And then she's helping somebody else, stopping some fight going on. So there's a lot of scenarios here. And I could go on with other scenarios in a situation like that. But that's why another reason for the word Baal is whoever's the Lord or male master of that household would take charge and make a determination. And then being his family, his determination might be a little bit strong and absorbent. So therefore, it would go to the judges. And then it says if mischief follows, that means right then and there. So that means the mischief is if the woman herself dies in the mayhem. And one of the things in the mayhem is only concerned whether the child, she abort the child. That's not considered a major issue. In a sense, for us, the death penalty. But if she's injured and dies in the mayhem, then that's a whole nother level. So when we look at that area about abortion, and I said the segue on abortion in a sense, is that when is abortion acceptable in our way? Abortion is not prohibited directly in the Tanakh. It's not directly, prohibited. Though you're told to be fruitful and multiply, that's the first command given to man. Be fruitful and multiply. If you lose the seed, or whatever the case is, in the case of abortion, is not a violation of Tanakh. Technically, it's not a violation in that sense. Though you're not, if you refuse to be fruitful, it's not a death penalty. All right, but you're not complying with the Creator. And a child, according to our way of life, it's not even considered, redeemable, especially since it's deal with the males, unless he at least pass a month, 30 days, pass a whole month, a lunar cycle. So these are some of the things is that if a woman have a problem with children, and it's come to a time where the woman, it's either the woman or the child, which one you want. You know the woman, you know the child. You can't say I'm gonna condemn her, who I know is a vibrant contributor to the community, to something that haven't yet even fully entered the community. So I know you talk about the heartbeats and all that kind of stuff, and they got all these things that go with the abortion laws that was overturned, and the right to life. And Torah doesn't support open abortion just for the say, I'm just wanting to just get rid of the kid, get pregnant, get rid of it, get pregnant, get rid of it. I'm not saying there's situations where the Torah doesn't condemn it simply because it be necessary. Now, when we talk about a mamzir was a bastard, a bastard is just any child is from rape or incest, or so rape, incest, or an adulterer that have not got caught right away. So now, and it says, and that law is addressed by Moses later on in Deuteronomy, but even in this 10th generation, it said a bastard should not enter the congregation of the Lord. So now, let's look at this. A bastard should not enter the congregation of the Lord, and not even in his 10th generation. He lived 10 generations. You know how many years that is? How many scores that is? How many decades that is? So if we got 10 generations, who can identify whether he's a bastard or not, or she's a bastard or not? Because people just think men is bastards, but mamzir, it could be male or female. So who can identify him? So even and then saying 10 generations can't enter the congregation, only one going to be able to identify the individual is the Creator. Now, suppose, and I just want to bring this out just a little bit, and then I'm going to move on to another episode before I go into the Proverbs. Suppose this guy that happened to be a third generation or fourth generation mamzir is a strong Torah observer because he was around the right people. Are you going to be able to identify him as a mamzir then? Because he keeping Shabbat, he prays so much, he do this and do that. And I'm going to throw this last caveat in here. Suppose the high priest buy a foreigner for money, and that foreigner happened to be a mamzir. The Kohen don't know. All he knows, he's from he's from Syria. He's from down in Egypt. He's from Persia, India. They're selling them. He looks healthy, or whatever the case is. Look good. I want to buy him. And I also want to buy, might want to buy the female, but mostly it says this guy. I brought the guy. This same guy, he brought for money, Kohen Hagadol. That's a foreigner. That perhaps could have been a mamzir. It could have been a mamzir. He ain't going to check and see, well, necessarily, is this your background? He's sitting in the household of this Kohen. And where the Kohen food come from? From the people. All this food is of a holy situation. So even though the Creator says should not be part of the congregation of the Lord, and I never, only the Creator will be able to get rid of a mamzir, a bastard in that sense. And we get into an area where you can say it's not part of the congregation. Because when a priest buys a foreigner, he become part of his household. So we got to consider all these different variables when we go to these civil laws. But civil laws is important as we make inquiries into it. Then it goes on to about the last thing I want to touch on before I go into the Proverbs is as we get to the end of this they talk about the elders meeting, the elders of the tribe meeting God and stuff like that. But let me see where I want to go. Oh, well, this will lead into it. 23rd chapter, 20th verse. Behold, I send my angel before thee to keep thee by the way and to bring thee into the place which I prepared. Take heed of him, hearken unto his voice. Be not rebellious against him, for he will not pardon your transgressions, for my name is in him. But if thou shalt indeed hearken unto his voice, and do all that I speak, then I will be an enemy unto thy enemies, and an adversary unto thy adversaries. For my angel shall go before thee, and bring thee in unto the land of the bring thee in unto the Amorites, and the Hittites, and the Perizzites, and the Canaanites, and the Hivites, and the Jebusites, and I will cut them off. All right, and then and it goes on about worshiping their gods and everything. All right, so now I always like to focus on this here point because people think the angels led us through the wilderness for the 40 years. The angels was at that time. But here we read, this angel job is to cross over. We're going to come up soon with the sin of the golden calf. God didn't want to do anything to do with us. And he said, look here, I'm going to send my angel with you. And Moses said, no, if you don't go with us, we don't want to leave. So as long as Moses was around, God was leading us. Only time the angel actually took over, and it tells you right here, his job was to bring us into the land of conquest. And soon as Joshua got over there, he meet this guy as captain of the host, somebody he wasn't accustomed to meeting. He said, are you for me, us, or for the adversary? And he said, as captain of the Lord of hosts, am I come? So which side you to be you on? And then Joshua, bowed before him. So I just want to bring that up because a lot of people think that we wander, like I said, and that the angel came at this particular time and carries for them 40 years in the wilderness. It was God leading us this way and that way for a particular purpose. And also one of the things to say that the angel cannot forgive because that God's name is in him. That means all he knows is discipline. You violate, you can't talk to me about mercy. All right, that's God's job. All I know is right and wrong. Anything outside of that does not compute. That's when you deal with an angel, a messenger. His job is to do only what he's commissioned to do and nothing else. So these are some of the things here. And then we go to before Moses get ready to ascend. In the 24th verse. 24th chapter, 12th verse. And the Lord said to Moses, come up to me unto the mount, be there, and I will give thee the tables of stone, and the law, and the commandments which I have written, that thou mayest teach them. The reason I want to bring them up, bring that part up, because what is written need to be explained. Because everybody could read, but it need to be explained. Hence, every congregation you go through, you're reading the same words. Whoever's up there, leading the congregation, will reading. You have the same understanding of what a word means, but do you have an understanding of the contents and how it's used? So Moses Oh, you want me to? Okay, I didn't say anything. The last thing I said was 18th chapter. Okay. All right. So we're gonna go into Proverbs the 18th chapter. I'm gonna give you an overview of what it's about because I'm moving kind of swift in that. All right. You got 24 verses we're dealing with in this particular Proverbs, and then it's on an individual and a community as we speak on. We're always talking about fools and their power of speech, on the wicked and the righteous, indolences, um, having on confidence of God in God. Sometimes people don't have confidence in God, wealth and poverty, pride and humility, listening and learning, psychology. Can you imagine that? You got some psychology in the book, right? Giving gifts, justice, chance, something that happened by chance, brothers and friends, and the good wife. Now, before I deal with the chance thing, last time I was speaking in the Proverbs about people lots, and though we use lots in our way of life, is Joshua used lots to find out what was going on. We know that people cast lots, in Purim. We know we got the land by lots, a lottery. All right. So, but lots itself, though it's employed in our way of life at times, is not the avenue that you mainly go to seek information from the Creator. So I just want to bring that out because a lot of times um, we read about consulting the Oratorium about certain things, which was Joshua did. We read about the lottery of the land, and you say, well, why does Creator just tell us that? Why I got to go through a lottery? All right, and you read about even the Purim story, and you read about Joshua with the lottery, to find out what was going on with how the people was failing in a battle. One of the things about that is that lottery make us feel secure. That's why we take the lottery. Make us feel that, hey, it was fair. It was impartial. I got a chance to draw like everybody else got a chance to draw. I got a chance to ask and see which one flash up. All right. So they say, well, that had to be the will of the Creator in that sense, because that's to say that by chance. I'm taking a chance. And when you're taking a chance and go by a lottery, you're saying that reason and rhyme do not count. I'm trying to exercise a certain type of faith system in lottery. But caution not to base it on that lottery alone. We got to know the will of the Creator. Hence, that's why we got these mishpatim, these laws, these different statutes, these different judgments, because it's based on that. All right. So we can start off in Proverbs 18, first verse.
Hallelujah. In the
Hallelujah.
book of Proverbs, chapter 18, starting from verse 1. Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
He that separateth himself seeketh his own desire, and snarleth against all sound wisdom.
All right. That's important right there. All right.
That's very important.
Because first of all, I just started off my thing talking about unity and community, and the different levels that it was. I even gave you 3 terms, Quahal, Adah, Quahal, Adat, and also Zabur. I gave the 3 terms in there, and which I spoke on in the past. And yet, when a person separates himself from the community, he said, nobody qualified to tell me anything. I don't need to listen. Y'all don't know as much as I know. Yeah. So I'm not going to let you control me. And not only I don't let you control me, I'm not going to contribute anything to your aid and assistance because I don't need you. That's how this is serious. That's why I say he snarls at the community because he figured it's all about that individual, himself. And you hear people say, me, myself, and I. They want to make sure they cover every pronoun dealing with selfishness. All right, continue.
It reads, verse 2. A fool have no delight in understanding, but only that his heart may lay itself bare.
All right, right then and there, a fool himself, that means right then and there that when it gets down to the fool, he has, you know, all I need is pleasure. All right, that's it. I want to do me. You find people all the time, from time to time, say, "What you do? What's going on with you? I'm just doing me." I said, "Doing you?" Yeah. What that means? I'm doing me. I'm just doing me. What is that? What, describe that to me. Well, I'm handling what I like to do. Okay, and I mean, is something wrong with you? There's nothing wrong with you handling what you like to do, but what you like to do, is it right to do? And that's what we got to ask people. So those issues there. But let's go into the next verse.
It reads, verse 3. When the wicked cometh, there cometh also contempt, and with ignominy reproach. Ignominy reproach.
Okay. Yeah, ignominy. Okay. He can ignore anybody else. In other words, he come to disrupt the community. That's what it is. You got people that come around, say, why show up? I only showed up, man, so I could, to say a few things. I just show up to see who's gonna be there. And some people just do that. Say, why you showed up to this meeting if you didn't like what's going on? Well, I didn't like what's going on, but I want to show up just to see who's gonna be there, to see who I gotta stack up my attitude with. Some people are like that. All right. And that's usually a wicked individual. All right. Fourth verse.
Verse 4 reads, the words of a man's mouth are as deep waters, a flowing brook, a fountain of wisdom.
Uh-huh. All right. So right then and there. All right. You got to be careful what you say. Waters run deep. All right. And a flowing brook, a fountain of wisdom. All right. So here it is that when a man starts to talking about usually a man of understanding, his words going to either condemn him or praise him. And most people don't forget most of the times what you say a lot, especially if it's about life experiences and what you're going to do and what you want them to do. All right, let's go to the fifth.
Verse 5 reads, it is not good to respect the person of the wicked, so as to turn aside the righteous in judgment.
All right. We in this particular portion in Mishpatim, talking about perverting judgment, in Mishpatim. But the thing is that some people glorify a wicked individual, a corrupt individual, because they either, most times it doesn't usually be don't be a lack of knowledge. What it is that they fear and they see what this wicked individual might achieve, so they gravitate to him. And sometimes it's almost like when you grow up in certain neighborhoods as a youth and you see this big bad John or whatever on the block. What I mean? He out there slapping guys with the head, taking their sodas, their snacks, their money, and anything like that there, and you're going to have a bunch of guys that are going to try to befriend Big John so they don't have to be taken advantage of so much. So they like Big John because he's bigger than everybody. He brutalized everybody. And you come down, he take your money, take your snacks, slap you upside the head. So you got guys that will hang around this guy because they feel I better be on his side because I feel weak enough where I can't go against him, and I don't want to be victimized like that. So they start telling me, yeah, you're right, Big John. You're right, Big John. That's right. Let's slap him again. Hit him again. Something they wouldn't do. So you got to be careful about, befriending and praising wicked people. Continue.
Verse 6, it reads, a fool's lips enter into contention, and his mouth calleth for strokes.
All right. Right then and there. And he don't, not only that he don't know what to say, but one of the things about when I listen to this, they say that kind of talk, boy, will get your behind whipped, get you jacked up. That's what it's saying. So when you look at that, the first thing I think about people I have seen in the past, know and stuff like that, and you a lot of times parents say that to their children, boy, you keep talking like that, boy, you're gonna write a check that you're behind can't cash, and this is what what fools do, all right, and they talk themselves into a problem where it could cause them not just mental harm, but physical harm. And that's what it's talking about here. So that's what I like about the Proverbs, because a lot of times when you see the Proverbs, you're going to know somebody that fit these different descriptions in here. You're going to see a lot of people in the neighborhood, that's in the Proverbs in various areas. And some of us ourselves will see, well, I used to do something like that. I got to check myself now because they're talking about me. And a lot of times, if you can't see yourself in any other Proverbs that we read here, then you don't exist. Because the Proverbs are going to talk about everybody in society, the good, the bad, the ugly, and the indifference. They're going to talk about everybody. So when you go through Proverbs, you should be able to see yourself in it. I continue.
Verse 7, it reads, a fool's mouth is his ruin, and his lips are the snare of his soul.
All right, that's clear. Keep going.
The words of a whisperer are as dainty morsels, and they go down into the innermost parts of the belly.
All right, and that's something. I mean, that means a gossiper. That's all. A gossiper. Talk about everybody. Talking about just a nobody, talking about anybody, to everybody, to try to be somebody. That's what they do. And that's what the gospel is. It's a whisper. And it's like dainty morsel. That means right there, it seeps deep, because when a person whispers to you, first thing you're gonna say is, I gotta pay close attention because he's talking so low. so it seeps in better. It ain't like he's shouting across the room. He say, yo, man, let me drop this one on you. And so now he said, man, what you say again? Did I hear you right? Because now you got more attention to the whisperer, than the guy that's more vocalized. And that's what makes him more dangerous, in that sense. Because he selected you out of everybody. And then, and sometimes, some people might misread you and think you part, down with the program. Continue 9.
Verse 9, it reads, even one that is slack in his work is brother to him that is a destroyer.
All right, that's very clear there. But I like to speak on it anyway. If you slack in your work, all right, and I need you to do some of your work, all right, it's the same thing as a guy that comes around and destroy other people's work. Same way, you're a brother to a destroyer, because first off, you're destroying yourself by not producing, not handling your business. So a destroyer tears down what people have built up. All right. So if you slack, you ain't even allowing the destroyer to tear it down, because you're not going to even finish building it up. And so therefore you're related. And that's what makes this Proverbs very clear. Tell you to be pretty efficient in what you need to do. All right, continue.
Reads verse 10. The name of Yehovah is a strong tower. The righteous runneth into it, and is set up on high.
All right. Well, the name and stuff is really powerful. And that's why they try to, traditionally, they don't use the name as much. There's no violation in using the name unless you're talking rabbinically. And even rabbinic circles, we reading it and you got to express it. You pronounce the name, Yehudah or Yehovah, as you'll say, you express that name. But more so, it's when after the Babylonian destruction of the first Commonwealth, more so, from a historical background, most people, we thought the house would be our salvation. The Ark of the Covenant, all that, that's the power of God. So we look at the power of God and how, like a talisman. None can ward us up. That's our force shield. And yet, no, the prophets came constantly. Jeremiah, you talking about God going to destroy this house? You got to be a traitor. You got to be treason. Because this house is God's house. And long as this house is here, nothing could happen to us. And it's almost like I seen a sci-fi movie one time. And this guy was a vampire. I forgot the name of it, but it was a vampire. And this guy, who was a fake vampire slayer, said he pulled out his cross because people hired him because he had this show sitcom saying that he could kill vampires, werewolves, all that stuff. So when he finally came and found out this guy was a real vampire, and he pulled out this cross, and held it before him, the vampire, looked at him and smiled and snatched him and said, "You got to believe first. You got to be a believer. You ain't a real believer." So he got slapped around a little bit because he wasn't a real believer. But it is that we ourselves looked at the temple during the first Commonwealth on that same level. We wasn't a real believer in what God wanted us to do. And yet we figure that this can ward us against anything outside the neighborhood, like a force shield. And Jeremiah himself was warning them against that. So normally when a nation defeat another nation, they usually say, "My God beat your God." And how we get an idea of that? Because in the book of Judges, when Yehudah himself was arguing with the king of the Ammonites, he said, "Hey, Chemosh gave you something, will you not keep it? What our God gave us, we're gonna keep." So now it becomes an issue with gods. When we left Egypt, it was our God against their gods. And their gods are not gods, but the concept. See, the thing is that most people know an idol that it has eyes and can't see, ears and can't hear, feet that can't walk, hands that can't work. They know that already. Nose that can't smell, mouth that can't speak. They know that already. But the ideology behind it is the problem. So that's what becomes a problem when we look at this the house as a talisman, and that's what the Proverbs questions us on in reference to that. So the thing is that from the Babylonian period of time, that's when we stopped using God's name openly, and we started to not use it worthily, because one of the commandments is, "Thou shalt not take the name of the Lord thy God in vain." So that means, in a sense, that we make it worthless, using it so much in everyday language, like it doesn't really have any sanctity to it. All right, continue.
It reads, verse 11, "The rich man's wealth is his strong city, and that's a high wall in his own conceit."
Okay. All right. All right. So he thinking, look, I used to watch the Beverly Hillbillies, when I was coming up. So those people that might know, in old school, they had this banker called Don Drysdale, and when he had a little problem, stress, he opened the vault with the money in there and go in there and do a little relaxation, like a yoga type thing, to feel good, take some fresh air of money, breathe the money in, breathe the money, breathe the money, breathe the money, to inspire him to do it, whatever problems he's going through. So some people that's wealthy think they wealth. Now we know Solomon said in the Proverbs, wealth is, and when in the book of Ecclesiastes, money is a defense. But if it's a defense, that tells you that you're subject to be attacked. But it's a defense, but is a defense enough to keep you from being harmed and attacked? And then against God. And so some people figure, I'm so wealthy, I ain't got to listen to anybody. You listen to certain guys and boxers, and they say they got this and accomplished that, and they don't care nothing about anybody else because they figure they could buy who they want and what they want. So they live in an illusion, and it's hard to say who are true friends because they go into a whole nother world and frame. Most of the bodyguards they hire, they don't know them at all. I read your resume, you say you're good at this, and that's it. But I have no history in a relationship with you. All right. So this is some of the things about the people that get a lot of wealth. All right, and they think it becomes a defense, but it says you're conceited. That means that if you think money is what's going to save you, money makes you a target. The have-nots do not rob the have-nots, except sometimes in our black neighborhoods. Sometimes in our black neighborhoods they might do that, but normally the have-nots rob those that have. All right. So to continue, to pick it up 12 verse.
Verse 12 reads, before destruction, the heart of a man is haughty, and before honor goeth humility.
Okay. Then that's how both of them, is achieved. All right. All right. Before destruction, the heart of a man is haughty. All right. That means right then and there, you might think you're invincible. But then something hit you all of a sudden. All right. And before honor, there's humility. And you wonder why. I can understand honor, but why I got to have humility before I get honor? I mean, it seems like if I'm humiliated, who will really honor me later? But the thing is that you can hold on to your honor a lot better, and that's why a lot of people that shoot for certain jockeying for certain positions all the time in life and always want to be the one. And a good example of that, we don't think about that, but the talebearer, the gossiper, he want to be the one. He got to be important. That's an example of a talebearer. His main thing, I got to be important. So I got to have something to talk about somebody. You know what I mean? I got to be, it ain't so much I'm snitching. I'm a serious informational boy, So this is what goes on. Hey, but let's read a little bit further.
Verse 13, it reads, he that giveth answer before he heareth, it is folly and confusion unto him.
Okay, right then and there. All right, so a lot of times, and a lot of times when especially when I discuss different parts of scriptures with different people, and more so the Isha, stuff like that. So I focus hard, whatever I'm doing, shut down anything outside if I'm talking to her, simply because I want to make sure I give them a whole undivided attention. And a lot of times I know what the conversation leading to, but I try to be patient. And sometimes she pours too long. I think she finished. I really think she finished because she pours too long in between the conversations, and I'm not finished yet. I thought that pause yet. Yeah, you didn't hear me out yet. Okay. All right. But
that happens to us all.
Yeah, so I figured out you paused a little long, what I mean? I can't see all I hear is the periods and a bunch of other dots coming behind that period. So I don't think I see any words yet. But one of the things is this, that we all need to be cautious and humble enough to hear another person completely out first. And I developed this habit with it. Is that, are you done yet? You finished? Normally my answer is, for now I am. so I got that little window. I got that little window to deal with. But and that's good in the sense that you can relate and then say, well, they're thinking, you thinking, but you hearing what they said. And a lot of times, did you hear me? Well, repeat what I just said. That kind of stuff there. So you better be listening good. You better be listening well. And I'm sharing this insight because even at my age, I still had to practice hard to commit to do stuff like that at my age. Because one of the things you always want, like, Shalom, Habayit, peaceful home. So you really focus on listening. And as leaders of a different areas and congregation, and people depend on you making classical decisions. I mean, actually righteous decisions, not classical, that's the wrong word, but righteous decisions that's godly. You got to really develop a really divine listening ear. And you got to have a good memory too. So it ain't just a good listening ear. You got to remember what is said, and hopefully you understand what was said in order to reply. That's why you find some Proverbs that said, a wise man tongue rolls 7 times in the head and he speak once. He's trying to control it. Not now, not now, not now, not now. So, and then you speak. All right, but let's go ahead, continue. We got a couple more verses in.
Verse 14, the spirit of a man will sustain his infirmity, but a broken spirit who can bear?
All right, be rough, keep going.
The heart of the prudent getteth knowledge, and the ear of the wise seeketh knowledge.
All right, keep going. That's self-explanatory there. And if you want that, that's what's in you, you will listen more. And we were just talking about that. So continue, 16.
A man's gift maketh room for him, and bringeth him before great men.
Okay, all right, make a room for him. All right, right then and there. What kind of gift are we talking about? That's something to be discussed. All right, later, but keep going.
Verse 17, it reads, he that pleadeth his cause first seemeth just, but his neighbor cometh and searcheth him out.
Okay, all right. So right then and there, when they talk about your neighbor, searching you out, all right, you pleaded your cause first, and it seems just, all right, because everybody, when you got an issue, the issue you say to yourself, being a judge for yourself, that's all the time you consider, hey, I thought of it, it got to be right. All right. But sometimes you got to run that by somebody and see what their views on it. A lot of times when I give lectures or stuff like that, and I stop asking more often any questions. Even in meetings, I stop asking if I'm conducting a meeting. I usually ask, any thoughts? That's what I used to say. I don't ask, do you have any questions about what was said, what was done? Any questions about the meeting? Ask any thoughts. And I was sharing this with a couple of people, my kids, and I often do that. Misha, any thoughts about something we'll be discussing on it? Because if I say any thoughts, then if you listened to me and you heard me and you understood me, either you could say, okay, I agree, or I can appreciate what you said. But you might not have a question about what I said because you pretty much agree on what I said, in that area. But if you have no thoughts at all, because a lot of times you may not have no questions about what I said or the next individual said, but if you don't have any thoughts on what is said, then are you really listening? And so therefore, whether I'm in meetings or if I'm doing a lecture, I always ask, Any thoughts? So, and that's usually my rule of thumb for myself I use. All right, continue.
Verse 18, it reads, the lot causeth strife to cease, and parteth asunder the contentious. A brother offended is harder to be won than a strong city, and their contentions are like the bars of a castle.
All right, family matters, man. They say family do matters, but then also in a family matter, it could be a more hostile separation than anything, and it's hard to recover from that. All right, see, one of the hardest wars to deal with is not the civil war, which is civil unrest, with the CIVIL, as opposed to the SILVER, silver war. You can always have war about money, but you can get over that real quick. But when it becomes the civil unrest and civil war in the family, that's a lot harder to deal with. All right, continue.
Verse 20, it reads, a man's belly shall be filled with the fruit of his mouth. With the increase of his lips shall he be satisfied.
Okay. All right. So that right then and there. All right, keep going.
Verse 21, death and life are in the power of the tongue, and they that indulge it shall eat the fruit thereof.
Okay. All right. So now you got to be careful what you say. That's all. I said that many times. All right. The slanderer, the slandered, the listener, all that got to be careful. It's a Japanese proverb. A word once uttered is beyond the reach of our 4 galloping horses. That's a Japanese proverb. All right. 22.
Verse 22, it reads, whoso findeth a wife findeth a great good, and obtaineth favor of Yehudah.
Okay, right then and there. All right. All right. And it says a wife, man. And that's important now. And it does say a woman. Well, even though the word ish out there, but but it uses the term, matzo itself. Matzo is actually the good part, finding, but mose, it's so words just for different pronunciation, same root, but mose is a rough woman. That's a bitter woman. That's a deaf one. That's a death sentence. So is it? A lot of times they have this expression, and you say, "Oh, I got me a wife." I got me a woman. And say, "Yeah." Say, so I need to know: is it moso or mose? Because moso is for you. You found something for you, and then so keep going.
Verse 23, it reads, the poor useth entreaties, but the rich answereth impudently.
All right, keep going.
Verse 24, there are friends that one have to his own hurt, but there is a friend that sticketh closer than a brother. Hallelujah.
All right. So sometimes you keep a certain company with certain people. When you keep certain company with certain people, that gonna cause you problems. Sometimes they always say I could tell what kind of person it is by the company you keep. And sometimes you could be with, and I spoke on it in the past before. Sometimes you could hang out with certain people, and it will cause you a lot of problems. Some people,
sir.
You say, "Oh man, I go through the neighborhood with certain guys I know, and guys I grew up with. Well, most of the guys I grew up with, they senior citizens or super senior citizens, or they're dead. But when you see the young guys that grew up behind them, because you go to the corners. I was telling people when I was coming to New York, I said, I'm going to check on the corners. And he said, check on the corners? I said, yeah. He said, I don't do anything down here, but I'm going to go here. I'm going to check the corners out. He said, why you want to check the corners? I said, because there's always a new generation that's standing there replacing the ones that was there before, on the same corner. And I was sharing an experience about when I was retiring from the job. before I retired, I was near close to retiring time. And I used to see these bunch of guys that I knew from the neighborhood, a couple guys, train operators, former train operators that retired. They go to McDonald's there's one McDonald's every morning, like clockwork. Now I get off at 8 o'clock in the morning, and I come out this subway station, and the McDonald's right there on Troop Avenue and Fulton Street, and they used to have the same corner. So guys would come in. Sometimes I catch them coming in. Sometimes, they be hanging out, out front. It depends on the time of the year. And these guys, retired guys, well-to-do, got a wife at home. They said definitely could get breakfast, but they get up, they go there and meet there and have a breakfast. So I sit there, have a coffee with them and stuff like that once in a while. They say, "You retired yet?" I said, "No." I said, so when I did finally retire before I, moved from New York, and I walked in there, I said, they say, "We finally retired, man?" I said, "Yeah, I retired. Now, do I qualify to sit down here with y'all?" Say, "Yeah, you qualify." And it'd be like something like maybe 7 or 8 guys every morning. They report there like they're going to work. Of course, they're eating all the stuff I can't eat, but I can have a coffee, or something like that. And I sit down and, we chop it up and, and discuss certain things about what we're going to do after life, because of life after retirement. It ain't like you lay down and go to sleep and that's it. You will sleep forever. All right. So with that, I hope you got some of what I said, and any mistakes been my own, and you can always leave a comment there.
Hallelujah. Hallelujah. Torah about Nasik. Torah for your insight and your wisdom. May the Most High God bless you. Shalom, shalom to everyone out there. And may the Most High God bless each and every one of you. Don't forget our Unity event during Memorial Weekend, Memorial Day week. Well, the Memorial Weekend, not Memorial Day. May 25th, we will be having a Unity Shabbat event, Kum. So come out and support. We hope that we'll see all of our supporters out there. Shalom, shalom, and everyone have a blessed evening. Hallelujah.
Let's get knowledge, wisdom, understanding. We'll do our standing. All praises to the Most High, His laws and commandments. The hot CHOKMAH BINAH here to push it through your speakers. Judgment, truth, and love should be coming from the leaders. Yeah, knowledge, wisdom, understanding. We'll do our standing. All praises to the Most High, His laws and commandments. The hot CHOKMAH BINAH here to push it through your speakers. Judgment, truth, and love should be coming from the leaders. Yeah.